Hi, Vinyl community. It's Glenn Kellaway coming to you from the basement. Got some special friends with me today. Uh, Below me, Randy Nelson from Randall Nelson's YouTube channel, and Sam St. John to my left. Hi, guys.
Hey there,
Hey, Glenn, Randy.
and glad to see both of you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Great. We've been trying to get together for a while now. Those guys screwed up our video when we were going to do it last time, so it was actually me.
That bus is
Anyway.
heavy. You're throwing us under.
We are going to tackle the Belfast Cowboy, Van Morrison, today and try and keep it down to our top 12 favorite Van Morrison songs, which was not easy to do, especially for Sam and Randy. They wanted to do 602, but we decided on 12. So anything you guys want to talk about, how you got into Van, or what he means to you, or just a quick little thing?
Randy, go ahead.
Well, like I've told this before, I had the Rolling Stone record guide, and I wanted to start investigating other bands, so I started buying albums that got like 5 stars in there, and I think Van was one of them. But what really set me on the Van path is there was a radio show in Kansas City. The guy called it Cypress Avenue because he was a big Van fan. He was a big Van fan, and it was a 2-hour show, and he would introduce us to new music. And he would always have, every 6 weeks or so, a special about Van and do some, different Van ones. And his big thing was Astro Weeks. And I think I got a greater understanding for Van Morrison and Astro Weeks through listening to his show. And that's kind of what I think set me on the Van path.
Wow, that's great. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, big influence for me was my mom. She is a big Van Morrison fan. She had the Still on Top compilation. I mean, I knew the radio hits that they play to death. Brown Eyed Girl, Domino, and all that stuff. But the Still on Top had some of the. I mean, they're still hits, but to me they were deeper cuts. I mean, they had Into the Mystic and some of his 80s stuff, and just things that just under the stuff that's still played on the radio all the time. And so from that, we listened to that album quite a bit. And as I started really getting into music and songwriters, Van was one of those songwriters that kept popping up. And just listening to some of the other full albums that we had in the house, the whole Moondance album, a couple of his later albums, Down the Road was one of them, Still on Top. And just listened to him to death and really got into him. I'd say probably when the Keep Me Singing album came out, that's when I started regularly buying all of his albums. I guess that was 2016-ish. And he's so prolific still. I mean, he puts out 2 or 3 albums within a 1 or 2 year period. So you get those new albums and you go back and listen to his stuff. And so I've seen him once live in concert. It was really cool to see him live back in 2018. And he's one of my top guys, probably top 5, awesome. No doubt.
Very cool that you got to see him. I'm being the old timer in the group. I came to him right at the start with Brown Eyed Girl, and well, them had their hits on the radio too, right? But that was a band more than anything. But I knew he came from that band, and then the Blowing Your Mind album came out in '66, I think, with Brown Eyed Girl. 67 maybe.
7 I think.
67. Okay. Yeah, that's so right from the start I kind of was into him. But Astro Weeks was the one that really sold me when that came out. That was just so different and so mind-blowing. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna do 3 each, counting down from 12 up to number 1. Randy's gonna go first with his first 3 selections. So the floor is yours, Randy.
All right, thanks. The first one I'm going to do is, first I want to preface this by saying I did not include any of his songs with them. It was all just solo Van Morrison. But, and actually 2 albums make up 5 of my songs, but It was hard. It was a hard one. But my number 12 actually was not on a studio album, and it was actually on this album, The King of Comedy soundtrack, which Robbie Robertson was working on it with Martin Scorsese, and he wanted a Van song, and Van had this song called "Wonderful Remark." It's include this version with Robbie Robertson, Jim Keltner, and Nicky Hopkins, and David Hayes on bass is on the greatest hits, but he's also got
It's on that.
on the Philosopher's Stone. Yeah, it's on that. That's the one off King of Comedy's on that one.
Yeah.
Which is better than the one that was on Philosopher's Stone, because he had recorded it earlier, but he wanted to rework it. And I think, some people wonder if it's about religion, because he said that was a wonderful remark. I had my eyes closed in the dark. And he kind of just talks about, is there anybody really watching over us, that you're kind of on your own in that song? And that's one of my favorites. Wonderful Remark.
That's a great song.
My number 12.
And your number 11.
My number 11 is another not well-known song, and it's off this Philosopher's Stone, which is a CD box of alternate takes and things that were never on any albums. And it's a song called Lover's Prayer, and it starts out kind of gospel-y, where he's going, Lord, 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 Lord. And then he gets into the song that he doesn't want anybody coming over to the house, because he just wants his lover to come over, his girl to come over. If some of his friends come over, I just want him to go away. And he talks about he doesn't want to watch the Carson show all alone. But of course, a lot of people now won't know what does he mean by that. But then later in the song, the Carson show's over, he's still by himself, and just talks it's his lover's prayer to have his lover come over, and he can play the guitar and whatever.
I got to hear that. I think I have that CD. I have that CD, but I don't play it very much. I need to put that on. I have to listen to that song. I'm not aware.
Lover's Prayer. That's my number 11.
Wow. Huh. And your number 10.
My number 10 is off my favorite album, of course, and that's Astro Weeks. Is it backwards on the screen?
No, it's good.
Okay, just want to make sure. But and it's Cypress Avenue,
okay.
Which I think I've been to Ireland. Well, we didn't actually go to Belfast, and I guess there's a street in Belfast that's Cypress Avenue, and that would kind of be my Abbey Road. Like the picture of the Beatles. That would be the place I should have gone when we went to Northern Ireland, but we didn't go there. We did go to Cong, which my favorite movie is The Quiet Man. A lot of it was filmed in Cong, Ireland, and I went there, but I guess I didn't think about Van when I was over there. But it's a wonderful song. I kind of like the chamber music feel in it, and kind of talks about his youth growing up in Ireland, and that's my number 10.
That's great. I love your picks. Perfect. Sam.
Well, I guess I'm not a Van fan, apparently, because I did not know those first two songs at all. So I'm going to be doing some listening this weekend to some deeper cuts. I also, like Randy, I did not choose any songs by them.
No, neither did I. So
Gloria was sitting pretty, just because of how much of a rocker it is. And then finally I said, no, I got to stick to his catalog. So it got nixed in the list. But number 12 for me, and I try to avoid a few hits. I do have a couple on here, but anyway, number 12 from the St. Dominic's preview album is Jackie Wilson Said, I'm in Heaven When You Smile. That was I'd mentioned that I saw Van live, and he did that live, and that was a killer performance for me to see him do that song. It's just a killer, it obviously harkens back to his love of R&B music from the early 60s with Jackie Wilson, but others as well. Sam Cooke he loved. what I didn't know that I found out is that this was done. Well, the version that we hear was done in one take, and that the band, like many jazz musicians, the band had just gotten the music, and Van, of course, as he does, he kind of directed them through the song, and they did a couple other takes, but it lost that passion of the first one. So that what you hear, that's like the first go at it in the studio after, I guess, tuning up. So it's just a killer dancing song. I mean, it's a quick song, 3 minutes or so, actually under 3 minutes. And I've always loved it. Even as a little kid, I used to love Jackie Wilson Said. So that's my number 12.
Wow, great
That
song.
was actually my number 13. That was the first one I took off.
Well, we're great minds, Randy. We can think like that.
Number 11 for you.
Number 11, one of the albums that I think should get a lot more recognition than it does. It's quickly becoming, I think I did a Van Morrison ranking early on when I started on the YouTube of my favorite albums, and this one made the list. From the Beautiful Vision album, it's the song Cleaning Windows, which again harkens back. It sounds like could be like that old R&B sound. Great horn section in it. Mostly autobiographical about Van being a window cleaner in the early 60s. Of course, it's got Mark Knopfler playing, studio sessions all over that album, and that song in particular, you can hear some great Knopfler guitar playing. That's when
Mick Jagger plays on that. You know, Mick Jagger sings on that song.
On Cleaning Windows?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah, he does the vocals with Van.
That makes sense. But one of the standout parts of that song is just Van throwing out the bar of where they are, and he's going number 36, and they're killing it behind him.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those songs when I really started getting into Van's catalog. That one stuck out, and I listened to it over and over and over again. So that's my number 11.
I love that pick.
Yeah, so that was my honorable mention. I'm gonna barely miss mine too.
That's great. All right, so I'm already gonna double dip back into St. Dominic's Preview for my number 10, and I'm going with the title track of St. Dominic's Preview. And I think the reason a lot of my picks I based also slightly on some performances that he's done of these songs. And there's a great version that he does of St. Dominic's Preview. It's all over YouTube in the 90s. Where he's really getting it. And it's one of those stream of consciousness songs. It harkens back to Astral Weeks, which had been released prior. He was more commercially known at this point. When Astral Weeks came out, he had Brown Eyed Girl out, but he went from Brown Eyed Girl to boom, Astral Weeks. And this kind of harkens back to that Astral Weeks freeform, jazzy playing. I know some of the same session players are on that album, the guitarist. It's one of those songs it's like a lot of Dylan songs. People study the lyrics over and over and over again, and it means something to everybody that listens to it. But to me, it's just a killer Van Morrison song. Just the repetition toward the end, as we gaze out on, he just says that over and over again. Then St. Dom, it's just killer Van as a band leader. So that's probably why it made number 10.
That's awesome. You guys have both had great first choices. Okay, my number 12 is the title song from this album, Wavelength.
Oh, good song.
I've always just loved that song. It's just kind of a tribute to the radio, right? Growing up listening to the radio. And just I don't know what to say about it other than it's just catchy as hell. Great opening track for that album. That's kind of an underrated album too, I think, the Wavelength album. But
that was on my mega list of songs. Wavelength made it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's my number 12. Number 11 is going to come from the Blowing Your Mind album, TB Sheets.
Good song.
Kind of an obscure one. That's really what got me into Van was TB Sheets and You Ain't Give Me what's the other one called? You Ain't Give Me None, or off that album. Well, I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think so. I
But
think so.
that's yeah, TV Sheets was kind of the first one I went, wow, this guy's so good. Yeah, so that's my number 11. And number 10, title song from this great album. It's kind of his country album, I think. Tupelo Honey. The song Tupelo Honey is my number 10. We're back at you, Randy.
All right, if I'm finding my number, what am I on? Number 9. Number 9 is going to be from this album, Moondance, and it's the song Caravan, which it's hard to listen to this song without thinking of the Last Waltz performance, which is one of the most amazing performances, I think, in the history of recorded music, where you know, I mean, that you actually have on video, good video too. But yeah, it kind of talks about gypsy life, and then I love the turn up your radio, which I guess he kind of got the idea because I guess he was living in Woodstock, and like the nearest house was like a mile away. So he said if to hear music from there, they'd really have to turn up the radio. But I love how the instruments go in and out, and he's just his singing on that's amazing. And you can't help but think of his Last Waltz performance when you just hear the studio version of it.
That's great. Yeah, the Last Waltz performance is epic, no doubt.
And my number 8 is actually from Blowing Your Mind, which I don't actually have that album. I have this, what they call the Bang Masters, where it has everything from that album and some extras on it. But it's the song, it's his Stairway to Heaven that everybody's tired of, but I still think it's a great song, and that's Brown Eyed Girl. It's still one of the most catchy songs, and I still think it's great, even if I've heard it a million times.
You never get tired of that song. It's one of the greatest pop songs ever written. No doubt.
All right, now my number 7 is from this album, No Guru, No Method, No Teacher, which it kind of harkens back a little bit to Astral Weeks and Vegan Fleece and quite a few stream of consciousness lyrics. And I love the song In the Garden. And it has the beautiful piano on there. And I don't know if you say the name Jeff Labes, Labes, or Jeff Labus. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name. But he played on a lot of Van albums. The piano on that's just wonderful. And I guess in concert, a lot of times he combines it with some other songs, but it's just one of his most beautiful songs, I think, In the Garden from that album.
It is gorgeous. He does a great version of that, the live version on A Night in San Francisco live album, which is my favorite live Van.
Does he do that as well on the Duets album that he did? Is that on the Duets album?
I've never heard the Duets album, to tell you the truth.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
Can't remember. It seems like one of the live albums he does that song, and it goes into the Sam Cooke song.
You Send Me, right? Yeah, that's
You Send Me and all that. That's that's the San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's great, Randy. You guys are nailing it. This is really good. Sam's turn. Number 9. Number 9.
All right. Moving on to number 9. This is a song that I haven't sung, but I've played on with my band through my church. I've played the bass line on this song, actually, my meager attempts to play bass, and that's from Avalon Sunset, Whenever God Shines His Light. The opening track off of Avalon Sunset, which again, this is also probably my top 5 favorite albums. And I should go ahead and say my favorite Van album, Astral Weeks, not a single song made my top 12. So there's a spoiler for you. But anyway, Whenever God
Shines. That's the one with
His
Cliff Richard sings with him?
Cliff Richards, it's essentially a duet.
Okay.
And you know, when he does it live now, I know one of his background singers does it. I've heard him do it with his daughter before, Shayna, who comes out and tours them quite a bit. but just a killer song. It's 80s. It's spiritual Van. He was in those constant albums with Beautiful Vision, Avalon Sunset, Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. All those albums kind of, for some people, they flow together, and a lot of people dismiss them because they thought that it was all the same. Like they thought it was just meh. But I love his 80s output, and I think that's a great album opener. Just the piano and the bass at the beginning kind of plinking along together. Just beautiful poetry by Van. I mean, I love it. It's one of his, I guess you could call it a hymn, but it's always been one of my favorites ever since getting into Van, in depth, and it's really fun to play too. So that's my number 9.
Cool.
Number 8. I actually got into number 8. I just mentioned the duets album. I got into this song because of that album, and then I went back to listen to the original because I'd never heard the original, which is the opening track off of the Enlightenment album, Real Real Gone.
Oh, great song.
Which he does on the duets album with Michael Bublé, a really jazzy, horn-driven song. Both versions are fantastic. He doesn't really stray too far from the arrangements on that duets album, but as Van is prone to do. But it's just I've been clipped by a bow and arrow, cut me down to the very marrow. It's great. And then at the end, like the fade out, he's just mentioning out, he's like, Ray Charles said, or Sam Cooke said, Solomon Burke said, like he's just listing off lines from his heroes, his R&B soul singers. And again, it's one of those songs, just like Jackie Wilson and Cleaning Windows, that with some minor alteration, it could have been a song from the 60s. By any of his heroes, and he would probably dismiss that because I'm sure in his mind he puts them over him as a talent, but he's eclipsed so many of them. But that's my number 8, Real Real Gone.
Awesome.
Now
number 7.
Yeah, to dip into, I guess, the most commercially successful album with Moondance, I'm going to go with, again, the opening track, And It Stoned Me, which is just a killer song. It's been done by dozens of people in terms of covers. Again, more autobiographical. I think it has to do with when he was 12 and he went fishing, and he remembers it's essentially about getting high on nature and not needing outside substances. And I think he's talked about he actually met an old man, and they gave him water from the stream, and he just remembers drinking the water, and he just remembers feeling like he was where he needed to be at that moment in time, and wrote it down in song. And again, Van was a really young man writing these songs, and I mean, it sounds like a mature artist. I mean, this is only his 3rd album, and he's already well established as a songwriter. And it's a great opener too. It's a slow opener, like it's not a rocker, but again, great horn section, and then Van just saying oh the water, like it's classic Van. It's a Van Morrison melody through and through.
Beautiful. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, my number 9 is going to my favorite Van Morrison album, Astro Weeks. That's when I saw Van live on this tour in 1968, I guess it was, or 69, whenever he toured Toronto and Massey Hall. It was pretty cool. It is Sweet Thing.
Ooh.
Now, I almost chose Cypress Avenue instead of Sweet Thing because Randy's already picked that one. So,
yeah,
I think that's just a beautiful song. Actually, the whole Astro Weeks album, you could just say, "Oh, these are my top 10 songs," and
it's one song. Yeah, the whole thing is one song.
Yeah,
really, in my mind.
That's my number 9, and off of the album that Sam has already pulled up, St. Dominic's Preview, which I think is my 2nd favorite band album. Listen to the Lion.
Ooh.
I love the live version he does on the Astro Weeks Live at the Hollywood Bowl. And if you guys have ever heard that album, it's really good. He does an amazing version of Listen to the Lion off of that.
It kind of refers to that on that 3 Chords and the Truth, where he goes, the lion this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's one of my favorite Van Morrison albums, even though it's his 2nd most recent. I love that album.
And my number 7 is Brown Eyed Girl. I mean, Randy already talked about it. In my opinion, it's probably one of the top 5 or 10 greatest pop songs ever written. It's probably been covered by 1 million people. He's probably sang it 14 million times. And I could hear it all day long. You could just put it on repeat, and I don't think I would ever get sick of it. Amazing song.
What's neat about Brown Eyed Girl is, I'm going to be honest here. That's one of those songs. It's on my list of, if I'd never heard it again, I might be okay. However, when I saw him live, I think that was the second to last track. He finished with Gloria, but when he did Brown Eyed Girl, I mean, you can't help but sing along to the, sha na na na, like and everybody's singing it, and Van is right there, like, you're not sick of it at that point.
No, I just love it. It's a masterpiece of a song, of a pop song. Randy, we're back to you for number 6, 5, and 4.
Number 6 is going to be one that Glenn already talked about, and it's the title track from Tupelo Honey, which I think is just, I love the background singers in that toward the end, and I love how he kind of mispronounces it, like if you take all the T in China, and it's like, wow, I love the whole way he does that, and it's just a beautiful song. And I guess there is a Tupelo Honey, actually kind of looked that up, and I guess in the southeast it's like a more expensive, sweeter honey. There is Tupelo Honey.
Wow.
But it's just a great song. That's my number 6. My number 5 is probably my second favorite Van album, and it's Ravine Fleece, which is a lot of that stream of consciousness lyrics and stuff. And it's the song Lyndon Arden Stole the Highlights, which he's got kind of this falsetto he sings in, and then there's the beautiful piano on there. And but the lyrics are just kind of in juxtaposition from that, because he talks about cleave their heads off with a hatchet. There's that word, and then there's living with a gun, and they put his fingers through the glass. It's got all these kind of dangerous images in the song, and whether it's, someone said that it's kind of about an expatriate from Ireland living in San Francisco, and it's kind of more of a dream sequence of, just surviving in a new place. But supposedly it's one of Elvis Costello's favorite songs.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, Lyndon Arden Stole the Highlights is my number 5.
Cool.
And let's see, number 4 is probably my my favorite bass intro, and it's a title track. How that gets the song going, the bass in that song. Man's on an acoustic guitar in there. Supposedly, he said it's about rebirth, the Astro Weeks, but I don't know, the stream of consciousness lyrics again. That's my number 4. I just, like I said, I don't know if it was Dave Marsh or Greil Marcus said it was the best bass playing in rock music, but Glenn should know. Glenn's the bass player.
Yeah, that's amazing bass.
He's playing the stand-up, the double, what they call it, double bass.
Yeah,
double. Yeah.
What a song! Like that's one of the greatest opening tracks ever on any album. Like just the way it starts, if I venture in the slipstreams among the viaducts of your dreams. I mean, just you get a lyric that starts off an album better than that, let me know what it is.
And then I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say, I didn't even mention the bass player. Richard Davis was the guy who's playing the bass.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Wow, great
jazz guy.
Sam, you're gonna have to work hard to beat those 3, man. I'm impressed with those 3.
Okay.
The pressure's on you, buddy.
Okay. It's your turn though, isn't it?
No, Randy just went. So it's your turn.
Randy started. My apologies.
That's okay.
The old brain.
That's all right. We understand you young guys can't keep up.
Yeah, apparently not. All right, this is from an album that we own, but it is in another vehicle, so I don't have it with me. But the album is, I mentioned it earlier, is the Down the Road album. So this is my most recent Van song on my list, and it's the song "Beauty of the Days Gone By," which to me is just it's so Irish with just the instrumentation, and there are just a couple of with one of the lines that I wrote down that stands out. He says, "The beauty of the days gone by, it brings a longing to my soul to contemplate my own true self and keep me young as I grow old." I mean, at this point he was in his 60s, because this is from the early
Yeah.
2000s. But just the way that he sings "to keep me young as I grow old," it's kind of like I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. It's kind of like that same kind of feeling. And he's kind of had this sentiment before. I mean, he's done another one called "The Sake of the Days Gone By" from Three Chords and the Truth. And like, I don't know, it's just one of those songs. It's a recent favorite for me too, because I wasn't really into that album until the last couple of years, and I didn't think it was going to make it to the middle of my list here. But as I thought more about it and listened to it several times in preparation, I was like, that song, it speaks to me on a different level than a lot of songs. I don't know why, but it's beautiful lyrics. Van is singing at his best. And that's another thing that we need to mention, is that Van is one of the few performers still going at it that are from the classic rock era, whose voice is at the same level, if not better, than his earlier material.
That's true.
Definitely his voice, I would say, has not really changed in terms of tone since, around the wavelength, or maybe not even wavelength, like the Beautiful Vision era.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's right there, and he still kills it, and he never hits a bad note. So anyway, that's a lesser known track, "The Beauty of the Days Gone By."
Well, if he does, he just calls it jazz.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that one because I don't remember it as well.
I'm thinking the same thing. I got to go back and listen to the Down the Road album now. I have it, so I'm going to check it out.
It's a killer. It's one of those, yeah, it hits you in the right mood. It's a good song. All right, moving on now to
Number 5.
another album that doesn't really get a lot of credit as it should, the Hymns to the Silence album.
Great album.
And this is the song, my number 5, "Why Must I Always Explain," which again, it's a killer Van song. Celtic instrumentation throughout it. I mean, this was released in '91, and this is really when Van was doing a lot more of his Irish roots. I mean, he was working with the Chieftains. He was doing more with Martin Knopfler. Just he was in that whole. He was collaborating with a lot of Irish folk. It's one of those songs. It's the same melody, I should point out, as "Tupelo Honey" and "Crazy Love." And it's one of those that he does often as a medley. There's a great, mostly from what I've seen, mostly it's "Tupelo Honey" that he does it with, but he has done it a few times with "Crazy Love." And it was written as like his answer to the press, like, "Why must I always explain? It's just my job. It's not some, he's always he's still like that. He doesn't like talking to the press.
No.
That's why him and Dylan get along so well,
Yeah.
because they're both, guys that have done what they've done their whole life and not worried at all about what other people think. If you like it, you like it. But he does a great version. I want to say he does a version with Dylan that he did in the '90s in Ireland. Like, Van came out as like a one-off guest for Dylan, and it's just one of those songs I can listen to it 100 times. I never get sick of it. All right, that was number 5.
Yeah. Number 4.
Going back to Avalon Sunset again. This is another one of those songs that's very poetic. "When will I ever learn to live in God?" Which, again, all of the songs that I'm picking have a classic Van Morrison sound. I mean, if you know Van Morrison, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just the melody. It's the chord progressions when the the notes make their just the way that the notes make their way around one another. It's a classic Van melody. But what's funny is probably the most interesting cover of this song is done by Bill Murray, that he did on an album probably about 5 years ago with a pianist and a cellist. He did a tour behind it where he did some spoken word American literature and poems, and then he also sang songs, and this is one of the songs that he sang. But it's one of those that I love. I did write down, if you'll indulge me for just a minute, one of the lyrics. He's just to show the poetry behind it. He said, "And up on the hillside, it's quiet where the shepherd is tending his sheep. And over the mountains and the valleys, the countryside is so green. Standing on the highest hill with a sense of wonder, you can see everything is made in God. Head back down the roads and give thanks for it all." He can just fit so many lyrics into a verse. And this isn't the only example. I mean, he's done it a million times, but that's just a little thumbnail of the whole song. And again, that's why, I mean, Avalon Sunset, if nobody knows it that's watching this, check it out. It's a great album. But that rounds out that little trio of songs.
Wow, that's great. Awesome. You did good.
I'm glad I can please a little bit.
There you go. Okay, we're down to the nitty gritty here, the top 3. This is going to be interesting because you guys have picked some of mine already, and I'm not sure what you guys are going to come up with here. So, Randy.
It's up to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. I'm
we
sorry.
haven't
No,
heard
I'm
your
getting,
picks through.
no, I'm getting screwed up. Yeah. Okay, my number 6 is from Moondance, Into the Mystic.
Beautiful song.
Yeah. Yeah, what can you say? Just gorgeous lyrics, beautiful melody, great song. Probably my favorite song off of this album. My number 5, back to Astro Weeks, Ballerina.
Great song too.
Another killer track.
I gotta
This
pick
album
almost
is
every
just,
song on that one.
I know, it's just, you could just pick whatever song you want, put them at number 3, 2, and 1. As far as I'm concerned. Yeah, stepping lightly, just like Ballerina. And my number 4 is the title track from an album we've shown a couple times here, St. Dominic's Preview. Sam already talked about what a great song this is. I mean, it's just amazing. And I would love to hear him do that live. That's great. I don't even know if is there any live albums where he actually does this on it?
Yeah, I think on the does he not do it on the Healing Game, like deluxe edition, Randy? That came out.
Okay, I've got that CD with the live show. Is it on there?
1997, I think, is on there.
Yeah. Okay, I might check that out. I'll have to see. I have that, and I don't play that live CD too much, so.
There's a great version of Why Must I Always Explain on it.
Yeah.
With
Wow.
the Tupelo interlude, so yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's good. I'm going to check that out because what a great song to hear live. It would be amazing. It's just a great tune. Great, yeah, great song off a great album. Okay, now we're into the top 3. You want to do 2, 2, 2, and then we'll reveal our number 1?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And something I just thought of is when you were talking about doing it live, I guess Lennon Arden stole the highlights. He's never done live. That's one of the songs that he's never done in concert.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Anyway, my number 3 also comes from, you showed this, the Hymns to the Silence, and it's the same song. It's Why Must I Always Explain. Oh, cool. I love that song. I love some of the lines in there. And he has another song called I'm Just a Songwriter that I can't remember what album that's on. Songwriter? Do you remember?
No.
But he kind of has that emphasis that he's just got his lunch pail. He's going to work to write songs and do music. I mean, he's just an ordinary. Yeah. He's an ordinary Joe.
Yeah, that's what he wants to be.
He's a songwriter. Sure. He's just an ordinary Joe, but I can't remember what album that's on.
I don't know.
And then Billy says in this song, it's just a job, it's not Sweet Lorraine. And I'm not sure if he's referring to the song Sweet Lorraine that Nat King Cole made famous, but But the line I really love on there is people always asking me questions they're too lazy to know, which
Yeah.
always reminds me of the people that don't do any research and they think their research is asking you the questions without, it's like if you see a talk show where someone's interviewing somebody about a book and they haven't read anything about the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what Van's feeling was, know something about what you're talking about. Plus, he doesn't like to talk about making music anyway. So, yeah, I love that song. Why must I? It's my number 3. My number 2 is Lennon said it, and it's Into the Mystic. Just a beautiful song. One of the things I really love about it is when he goes, and when the foghorn blows, and it has that kind of cello.
Oh, that's nice.
For the foghorn, and it's just just one of the most beautiful songs, I think, and actually probably a lot of people's favorite. So that's my number 2.
Wow, yeah, great song. Wow, Sam, 3 and 2.
3 and 2. All right, it was mentioned earlier by Randy early on from the Moondance album, Caravan, and I am putting it there with the asterisk that is based entirely on The Last Waltz in that performance, because I have an uncle, he's the drummer in the band that I play in, and we were just talking about this the other day, where when you hear the Last Waltz version, that in your, like, if you have any sense, that becomes the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you hear, and that's probably the reason that this song didn't make it to number 1, is because I had to kind of base it off of the studio version as well. But yeah, Randy kind of hit it earlier with, it's possibly the greatest live moment ever.
Mm-hmm.
And from like the greatest concert ever, that's probably the greatest live moment. So I completely agree with that statement. And because that was during a time when Van was dealing with some alcoholism and he wasn't wanting to go on stage. And so the fact that he gave that kind of performance was incredible.
Yeah.
And I know somebody mentioned, I saw it on YouTube a couple of years ago, I was watching that video over and over again. It said something like he has the highest short kick of anybody I've ever seen. It's like when he keeps his leg, it barely goes up in those tight white pants.
Yeah, that was quite the suit he was wearing.
But yeah, it's just a killer song. What can you say about it?
It is. What
So
a
that's
great
my
live
number
track
3.
that was. Yeah. Wow.
But jumping back from a number 2, I'm going back to Hymns to the Silence. It's the song I'm Not Feeling It Anymore.
I was going to mention that song when you brought up the album before.
Oh, cool. Well, it's this song, he's done it he's done it live a few times. He did it once with Tom Jones, or he did it a couple times with Tom Jones.
Well, Tom Jones had the hit of it.
Tom Jones did a version
Back in the MTV days. Tom Jones's video of that song was all over TV.
Yeah.
Before I heard Tom Jones's version before I heard Van's. I think he gave it to Tom to record, actually. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know that for a fact, but my assumption is that because Tom recorded it before Van released Hymns to the Silence.
It's just one of those songs. The line, "There are too many cooks trying to spoil the broth," always stuck out to me. And he said, I was pretending all the time. I was giving everybody what they wanted, and I lost my peace of mind. And all I ever wanted was simply just to be me. All you ever need is the truth, and the truth will set you free. Again, this whole album, Hymns to the Silence, is poetry. You could take Van out of the equation, just release the lyrics as one long poetic book. It would sell. But just the background, like the do 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 do, kind of like throughout the whole song, makes it as well to me. And it's one of those songs, it's over 6 minutes long, but it could go 14, 15 minutes and it would be too short for me. I just love it to death. And it was a toss up again where I was going to put that song, and I just kind of had to throw the dart, and it hit number 2. Wow,
I love that pick. I wrestled with putting that in the top 12 because I should, now that I'm hearing you talk about it and how much I love the song, it probably should have been in there.
apologies to Van.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, my number 3 is a song that I think Sam mentioned for sure. I'm not sure if Randy, Cleaning Windows.
Mhm.
Just love that song. It's just so catchy, and it is just all about his days as a window cleaner. Like I said, Mick Jagger sings the chorus with him, and their vocals sound great together. And yeah, I just always love that song. Yeah, amazing.
Great pick.
My number 2 is one that Randy mentioned earlier too. Is In the Garden from No Guru, No Teacher, No Method. Beautiful song. The piano's gorgeous. The lyrics are incredible. Um, and like we mentioned, that album, A Night in San Francisco, the live double. It's a double CD. I don't know if it's on vinyl or not. I think it was just a CD release at the time. But yeah, he does an incredible version on there. And then it leads into a couple other songs, like a Sam Cooke song or something. But just, oh man, that's one of my favorite live album moments ever. And yeah, In the Garden. So we're down to number 1s.
Wow.
The big reveal.
I have a feeling that somebody else might say this one too. So we'll see.
I think Randy, you and I already know we're going to pick this. We've talked about this in the past.
From Astro Weeks, and it's the 10-minute classic, Madam George, which to me, that's where Van Morrison became Van Morrison. And his voice is almost like an instrument on that song. It's like the lyrics don't really matter in a way. I mean, because he's kind of said it's about spiritual feelings, what he said. Because some people thought it was about a drag queen because that's Madam George, but he said it was a combination of like 5 or 6 people. And he said he was originally going to call the song Madam Joy, but he wrote down Madam George, which actually you can hear a song Madam Joy on this album that he later did, but he even kind of scats at the end of it, the love, the love, the love's the love, and just his whole voice on that is just amazing. And the instrument, Richard Davis still on bass, doing some beautiful stuff. And Celtic Soul, that's where it became Celtic Soul, I think, was Madam George, my number 1.
And what a great crescendo at the end too, with the instruments, the strings coming in too.
That's the best part.
Yeah, and he's just going. It's so good.
Yeah, oh yeah, just incredible. Yeah, and on that live at the Hollywood Bowl, Astro Weeks Live at the Hollywood Bowl, that's the last song before the encore, and they're doing that crescendo as he walks off the stage, and they're going, "Man, Morrison," that's awesome.
I love when he does that. Yeah.
I think maybe that should have been, instead of Slim Slow Slider, I think maybe Madam George should have been the last one on there. If he was doing it again.
I would have, if I was doing the order of songs, I might have done that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's an epic song.
Yeah. Sam, you're number 1.
All right, I think this, if I'm correct, I think this is going to be the one song that all 3 of us have on our list at different times. And for Randy, it was his number 6. For Glenn, it was his number 10. For me, it's my number 1, the title track, Tupelo Honey. Awesome. Again, y'all both kind of talked about it already, but again, it's one of those songs. It wasn't my favorite for a long time. Actually, funny enough, I was thinking Madam George made my my list for sure, and for a long time I listened to Madam George like constantly, because Astro Weeks was one of the first full-length Van Morrison albums that I bought. But for Tupelo Honey, it was a hard CD for me to find because it's out of print, and I found one in a online somewhere. But just listening to the Tupelo Honey over and over and over again, it's just something about that melody. I mean, I think that's why, that's part of the reason why Must I Always Explain made it. And I mean, Crazy Love for years was a top song for me too. And just that something about that melody, just it's a warming melody. And what better love song than Tupelo Honey? She's an angel of the first degree. She's an angel. Like, it's so Van Morrison. And there's a great quote that Dylan mention where he said Tupelo honey has always existed, and Morrison was merely the vessel and the earthly vehicle for it. I mean, how poetic is that? With
That's cool.
Dylan, I mean, voted by many as the greatest songwriter ever, said that this song, because of how comfortable it feels to people, was always in, the aura of everything. But Morrison was the one who finally put it down to paper and presented it. And I completely understand what he's meaning, because like I said, all three of those songs, Crazy Love, Why Must I Always Explain, Tupelo Honey, I could listen to all three of them on repeat and I wouldn't think of it as the same melody, but it's just that something about it is just, it fills you with what you want to feel like. And it's just beautiful lyrics. Again, one of those songs that could be twice as long and I would love it. But yeah, it creeped its way up and finally made it to number one.
Wow, that's great.
That Dylan quote kind of reminded me of what Woody Guthrie had said, that the songs are out there, you just got to grab them and take them down.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's what Dylan thought of that.
Amazing. Wow, you guys both have great number one picks. Randy's already talked about mine, Madam George. Man, that song just blew me away the first time I heard it. Unbelievable. Still, that's another song I could listen to again and again and again. Would be in my top 5 songs of all time, probably. Van Morrison. Madam George. Great lyrics. Like you mentioned, the crescendo at the end. That's just always just ripped my guts open when I hear that. I just love that. That's one of the great musical parts ever. And yeah.
Do you remember that on the tour when you saw him?
Pardon me?
I said, do you remember that particular song on the tour?
Yeah,
when you saw
yeah, they did it. Yeah.
So it was live.
He was very moody. That, they always said Van was really a moody performer back in the early days, and yeah, he had his cam back to the audience for pretty much 99% of the show.
Right, didn't
he? Yeah, he just kind of there was no, like, it was just hearing the great music. It really was no stage presence or anything, but all great musicians, and it was great. Yeah, they definitely did that song. So we got about 5 minutes left. Time for 3 honorable mentions each.
Ooh, 3.
Randy?
Well, I'm going to say Bulbs. I think it's one of his most catchy songs after Brown Eyed Girl off Eden Fleece. And that would be one of mine. And I'm not going to say any that you've already said, but Tore Down a la Rambo.
Oh, love that song.
Sense of Wonder is just gorgeous, and it's really catchy too. And the other one I pick is Bright Side of the Road from Into the Music.
Yeah.
Album. I think that's a wonderful song as well.
It is. Catchy song. Wow. Sam? Oh, he's going through his 600 now, trying to find.
Yeah, I was making some tick marks too. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a couple new songs or if I wanted to stick to the old songs, but I've already got this one up. I'll talk about real quick. The final song off Tupelo Honey is Moonshine Whiskey.
Yeah,
just
a
great killer song. During the Too Late to Stop set, that's when he introduces the band. It's one of those, it kicks off, like really fast, and then it kind of drifts off into another song almost, and then it bounces back into it with that guitar band and out. Again, like you said, or one of y'all said earlier, it's his country album, and that's like him kind of talking about the South with Moonshine Whiskey. She Give Me Southern Love, Deep in the Heart of Texas. So Moonshine Whiskey, I would say. I'll talk about from the Three Chords and the Truth, the opening song. I don't have it with me, but March Winds in February is the first song off that album. And I think that song as well, and Randy, you can throw out the name of the guy because I can't remember his name. The guitarist from Astral Weeks plays on that song, and it sounds like an Astral Weeks song. Just the filler within the lyrics, and like every
Steve Berliner or something like that. Is that his name?
Yeah, and I think he still plays with them most of the time live. Just again, one of those songs that sounds like Van. And I remember when I first heard that with that new album, I was like, this is a different kind of new album for Van. So March Winds in February, and another that I'll mention, I'll go off of an album we haven't talked about. Days Like This. I'll go with that one. What was cool about that one is actually at my commencement for college, the title, or it was, I think it was commencement. It was either commencement or the baccalaureate prior, but I think it was commencement. The speaker, his speech was called Days Like This, and he used the Van song as the template and kind of worked the whole talk around Days Like This. So it's a beautiful song, and I don't have a lot to say about it. It's just one of those that I love to hear it every time it comes on.
Wow, great, awesome picks. Okay, my 3 would be Crazy Love, which we talked about. That's off of Dance. You know who does a great version of that? I don't know if you've ever heard it. There's a live duet of Mark Cohen and Jackson Brown doing Crazy Love.
Oh,
It is fantastic. You might be able to hear it on YouTube.
there's a great duet too with Morrison and Dylan up in Athens doing it, and you can really hear Dylan as an actual singer, like a harmony singer with
Oh
Van.
wow, I've never heard that version either.
Oh, it's really
Such a great
good.
song. Great
Yeah.
song. Another one off of Astral Weeks, the closing track, Slim Slow Slider. Beautiful acoustic track. And the other one Randy mentioned, Bright Side of the Road. What a catchy freaking song that is.
Yeah.
We'll be lovers once again on the bright side of the road. Yeah. So yeah, that's our van countdown. That was pretty good, man. Everybody had great selections, and there's a few that were mentioned that I got to go back and now and kind
I'll
of
be
listen
listening.
to. Yeah, and even albums I'm going to pull out. Like I haven't listened to Hymns to the Silence forever.
Oh
And
man,
I got to pull that out. It's a great album. Wow, that's
fun
awesome.
though.
Is
Well, I
that
wanna
his
thank-
only double album? That wasn't.
I
That was
think
a
it is
studio-
his only
Is
double.
the only
I think-
double studio album? I think
Yeah.
so.
I think.
Yeah.
And what was it released on vinyl, or did it come out on CD?
Well, except isn't the new one a double album?
Oh
It's a
yeah,
triple.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah, but but really out of his main catalog, yeah, that's definitely his only
I
double.
forgot about the new one.
the latest record project.
I
Yeah.
never did do a review. I still don't know what I think of it.
I haven't even heard it yet. How's that? I haven't got it yet.
I'm
It's good.
still deciding some of it. I don't know.
Wow.
It's never too late.
Well, I want to thank you guys for doing this with me. This was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Thanks, Glenn, for inviting me.
Please, can you guys go to Randall Nelson's channel and to Sam St. John's channel and subscribe? They both have amazing channels, and they're both amazing human beings, and proud to call them my friends. And thanks so much, guys, for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Good times.
Okay.
Yeah.